For a single instant, absolute silence. Then, the beat of 3 hearts rising. 3 different hearts. 3 different podcasts.
Welcome back to another episode of Spawnography. The summer of Hellspawn continues.
Summer of Hellspawn.
I'm your host, Pierce Lyden, here with, as always,
George Marston, pronouns they, them, or she, her.
Oh yeah, pronouns they, them for me. How you doing, George? What have you been up to? It's a big weekend.
Been seeing Superman. I seen it twice. I saw it on Thursday, my first opportunity to see it at the theater with my roommate. We were both just blown away by it. I'll get into that a little more. And then the second time I saw it was Saturday afternoon of the first weekend. I saw it with my mom, and we both loved it. I loved it even more the second time. She also loved the movie, but she was legitimately a little upset by how real Lex Luthor was as a villain. Like how much some of his schemes closely resembled, like, real things that are happening, border disputes, online trolls, whatever. But yeah, I loved it enough to see it twice. I wrote a long thing about it that you might have read. It's been going well on the internet by now. The time you hear this, it will have been out for some time. But yeah, it was my feeling on it is that it was the most like watching a comic book of any movie I've ever seen.
I think one of the things I saw it this morning with Vanessa, and we did like 10 a.m. show.
Oh, wow.
Like first thing.
Honestly,
like
good morning movie.
Honestly, excellent way to start the day. I've had a great weekend of movies because Friday after I went to the dentist, I saw 28 Years Later.
Oh, wow. How'd you like it?
Is an absolute, it's my favorite movie of the year.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely. But Superman, it comes real close. But 28 Years Later it should be so bleak and hopeless, and it is such a hopeful movie that really... Did you see it?
No, I'll be honest. I thought about seeing it, and it didn't seem interesting enough to me.
Oh, it is. It is so good, and I can't recommend it enough. It is so incredible.
What it comes down to is we're talking about Superman versus 28 Years Later. I just was not in the mood for something that I know it isn't necessarily bleak, but that lives in a world that has that potential for bleakness. I'm already there.
It's interesting to talk about both of these things as we're talking about Hellspawn, a book that sort of revels in its fairly cynical and bleak worldview, I think.
But it's like magically cynical and bleak.
Yeah. But 28 Years Later, I think that Alex Garland's oeuvre tends to be pretty bleak and cynical. But Danny Boyle is such a hopeful filmmaker that it really balances out, and it really goes to show that that's the magic to their collaboration, is the two of them working together. That when Danny Boyle is left to his own devices, he makes like weird Beatles movies. And when Alex Garland is left to his own devices, like it's just going to be the bleakest shit you've ever encountered.
Well, what's interesting is you may or may not know this about the original 28 Days Later. The original ending was deemed far too bleak.
Yeah.
It was going to be Cillian Murphy's character dying in the hospital after being stabbed or shot or whatever it was, and the other two characters just moving on. And they tried it a couple different ways, and then they finally wound up on the hopeful one. That is sort of hopeful. It has a bleakness of its own because she says maybe they'll see us this time, and it implies that they've been by a lot of times and aren't stopping.
Yeah. I don't know how much you remember about 28 Weeks Later, but 28 Weeks Later. Oh, so it ends with like the rage virus has gotten to France. like,
Mon
it's finally,
Dieu.
yeah, like it's really spreading. And this movie walks that back.
Yeah, because you know
So
why?
why?
Because 28 Weeks Later is owned by a different studio.
Oh, I don't think they care about that. I know that they have the rights back to
Well,
like
that was
Boyle
definitely a
and
part of the like negotiations
Boyle.
around 28 years later, because they were trying to do 28 months later at one point and they couldn't do it because of the 28 days and 28 weeks. It's a whole thing.
They got the rights back though. That's why they were getting like a new 4K release,
Oh,
because
okay, good.
part of it was, hey, we have these 2 movies back now. Will you give us money to make we have 3 more movies to make, but we want you to like
Okay, I didn't know
buy
they
the
had settled. Last I heard, it
distribution.
hadn't been settled yet, so that's good.
The rights had reverted back to, or they bought the rights back, like Garland
Welcome
and
to
Boyle had
fucking
bought them back.
28
I
years
know. Anyway,
ography.
my point is, this weekend I saw that on Friday, and I was like, wow, I am really excited to see Superman, but I don't know what to expect. I know to expect a much more straightforward film than what I got with 28 Years Later, and what I got was one of the most, oh my goodness, issue 87, part 3 of 3,
Exactly.
diving into the dollar bin type stories that I've
Exactly.
ever gotten as a comic book
I'll
movie
send you the
fan.
article I wrote. I think you'll appreciate it and agree with it.
Yeah. I'll link to it in the
Oh,
description of this
cool.
episode as well. But it,
It felt
like,
like
yeah,
6 issues of comics.
yeah, well, and also that you just kind of like got, like, I don't know, you get caught up in the beginning of the movie is just, and we can talk about this because this isn't coming out till August, but the beginning of the movie is just the recap page, and then we get on with it. Like, it's
Yep.
just okay, here we go. And also, I was talking to my brother about this because he's been on the fence about seeing. He's like, so many people I know have not really liked it, and I was like, if they didn't like it, they don't like Superman. Like,
Frankly,
I'm just gonna, which is fine. Which is, you don't have to like Superman. I'm not saying that like you have to be a Superman fan, but if you don't like this movie, you just don't like Superman.
honestly, Lex
And
Luthor was so good in it too.
he's
Nicholas
great.
Holt has been my dream Lex Luthor since it made sense for him to be old enough to play him. And it was as good as I hoped. I mean, I loved that movie so much. I also saw another great movie this week on Tuesday. In it, I went and saw the 4K remaster of Spinal Tap, which
Nice.
was super fun. The music sounded fucking great in the updated doubly surround sound cut, which is what they dubbed it, I think. Doubly, as if.
Doubly instead of Dobie.
Yeah, you've seen Spinal Tap, right?
Yeah,
There's
that's
a
funny though.
part where um uh David St. Hubbin's girlfriend is like, "You can't mix heavy metal and doubly." And they're
Oh
all
yeah,
like doubly, and they all make fun of her for it, and it's a thing.
that's fun.
Yeah, it's just a classic film.
I you know tepidly awaiting the sequel. I
There
guess
was a
I'm
little preview of it. They had a little like scene from it at the end, and it was pretty funny. I'll put it
all
this
right.
way: what it established to me is that I'll say this. To me, there is room for a movie that makes fun of the idea of super old rock stars really overstaying their age. And it's all about them doing a retirement concert or a retirement tour. We just
It's a
had
little bit funny
Back
because
to
we
the
just got the Ozzy
Beginning.
one.
Exactly. And you know
Yeah.
what? Take a rest. Everybody take a rest. That's great. I've seen it. They only played 5 songs because it was Ozzy who also did a set of Ozzy songs, who has like
Mhm.
Parkinson's or something.
Yeah.
Parkinson's or MS or something like that. And he was sitting down the whole time, which good. I think we should normalize that kind of thing in terms of like the needs of people with conditions and disabilities.
Totally.
Like, anyway, not the point. The point is, they also had Bill Ward on drums, who hadn't played drums for Black Sabbath in 20 years and hadn't really played it all. So they were playing a little sluggish, but it was more sentimental than anything.
Yeah, that's fine.
That said, there's room to kind of go for that, to me, especially with
Yeah.
like the boomer rock stars are never going to die, and neither are the boomer politicians. It's going to be like Futurama, where they're all just heads in jars trying to make new albums.
2 of the other movies I watched this weekend were Night of the Comet.
Oh, great movie.
which
Classic.
is a really fun camp zombie sort of
It's like a zombie
classic.
Valley Girl kind of movie. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really fun with the guy that plays Chakotay
Oh yeah.
from Star Trek
Voyager.
Voyager,
Yeah.
being young, and what's her name from Last Starfighter? She's got
Oh
three
gosh.
names: Mary, Catherine, Mary,
Mary
whatever. I don't know,
Catherine Gallagher.
something like that.
Hold on a second. We're gonna find out. I love The Last Starfighter. Have you?
Me too. I
That
love
is
Last
a
Starfighter.
movie that, like, okay, when I was a kid, I didn't have cable. Just never really had cable. First, I couldn't afford it. Catherine Mary Stewart.
Oh, that was close.
Yeah,
I got 2 out of 3 names. 3 first names. Can't trust her.
because I didn't have like HBO or anything like that that showed like up to date movies. I saw a lot
Yeah.
of the hits of the 80s like 50 times, including Last Starfighter, Back to the Future. I saw Red Sonja way too much. Legend was like a 2 a.m. classic.
Oh yeah.
So I have a super soft spot for The Last Starfighter.
The other movie I watched was Better Off Dead.
Oh, another fucking all-time
Another
classic in
absolute
my
classic.
house.
That is what a bonkers film. Like, it is so crazy. It's so weird.
Do you know the dark, like, future twist of Better Off Dead?
No.
You know Ricky? Ricky, like the neighbor
Yeah,
boy
yeah.
who's obsessed with fucking Monique.
Yeah, yeah.
You know who plays that character?
Who?
Dan Schneider, the guy who created all the fucking Nickelodeon shows.
Is that true?
Yes, 100,000,000%.
I hate that.
I mean, he's a piece of shit in that movie.
I mean, true.
I love that movie
Oh,
though.
God. I had not watched it in such a long time, and it was definitely one of those movies that I think I only caught on TV. So I don't remember when I ever saw the
My
whole
mom
thing.
loved it, and she showed me that one. That one and the Goonies were like movies my mom loved. Loves, I think. I mean, she's still very much watching movies.
I mean, really great. And then the whatever streaming service it's on automatically started playing 16 Candles right after.
Ooh, problematic fave.
I'll say this: all '80s movies are just like you're just gonna get the F slur a couple times.
That
You're
one's
just gonna
pretty
get some
bad
stuff.
though. You got old Long Duck Dong.
Well, that's
which you can
that
censor that if you need to, but it's deeply problematic, and it was deeply problematic to be encouraged to laugh at that. Especially there's like sexual assault in that movie.
It's very fucked up, but there's a thing about Better Off Dead and also 16 Candles that I do appreciate.
I loved 16 Candles at a certain age.
Sure. There are better John Hughes movies. It's not even Pretty in Pink's my favorite John Hughes movie, if I have to pick one. No, that's not true. My favorite of the teen movies, my favorite John Hughes movie is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. But there's a weird, it's so weird that both the writer of Better Off Dead and then John Hughes are able to tap into this sort of weird
both
unreality.
SNL, or not SNL, I'm sorry, National Lampoon's writers, I believe.
Yeah. But they're able to tap into the like weird unreality of being a teenager. Of just like the things that happen to you feel fake.
Better Off Dead in a way really feels like one of the precursors to me to like The Adventures of Pete and Pete, which is one of the all-time greatest shows ever.
Totally.
Anyway,
today we've got two issues of Hellspawn to talk about, and they're fine. I am feeling a little bit like we're losing steam.
See, that's interesting.
Fair to say. The book's changing, and it is becoming a little bit more traditional in its execution, while still like in terms of pushing a narrative, but then also is like trying to push some other ideas, and we'll get into it. Trigger warning again, if we didn't already say it.
Yeah,
there's some discussion of self-harm and what that means in this book. That is,
we're not going to get too much into it, but there is some unkind language used. We will get into the topic, unfortunately, because it becomes a major plot point for this arc. and the arc coming. I will say, to me, what it feels like artistically is it feels like a battle axe has been whittled to a scalpel, not in a negative way, but in a way that feels way more precise. And the way that Ashley Wood is constructing panels and stories, like you said, feels a little more traditional, but it also still feels really cool. Like it's almost, there's a one of the first renderings of Spawn in these issues is one of my favorites ever, and we'll talk about that.
For sure.
Yeah, but you know what we should do before we talk about that is
What is that?
you should hit me with those credits. I don't know why I said it like that.
We're going to start off with Hellspawn number 9. Todd McFarlane and Image Comics present Chains. Story by Steve Niles, art and cover by Ashley Wood, lettering by Comic Crafts, Oscar Gongora. So no Richard Starkings this time. No inkers or anything. Just the pure stuff from these three.
So we open on a first page that kind of picks up where the last one left off, of Eden, who died by suicide in a bathtub. It establishes that suicide is a gateway, and it's only one that it says demons and angels, and then very unkindly it says cowards. I don't like stigmatizing language about self-harm and
Agreed.
suicidal thoughts or ideation. I think that's a way to keep it quiet, and what you need to do is actually talk about it to someone who's prepared to help you or find help. Just a little PSA.
Yeah.
The idea that it's a kind of callow backdoor for demons and stuff, not really offended by that on its own. It's a little kind of 90s edgy, but like it's a common enough plot device that, like, oh, for example, we were talking about Superman. Kendra Saunders is a character that was initially, like, her origin story is that she died by suicide, and then because of how she came back to life, like they revived her from like the brink of death, basically. It keyed her into the cycle of rebirth of the Hawks.
Right.
So these are tropes that are used in different ways. And as someone who very candidly, since we're talking about it and we've already put out the trigger warning, I was in the hospital for a week several years ago for suicidal ideation. I was able to, instead of doing harm to myself, I was able to get the help I needed from my family and my mental health professionals, my counselor, and I went into an inpatient facility, which saved my life. It was the right thing to do. That said, I'm only one voice of this, but this doesn't offend me so much, the idea that there's some mythical thing that you can tie to it, so much as the language that's kind of being used to explain it. And I just want to get that out there. That was the first thing that I read in this arc, of course, and I was like, cowardly, I don't like that. And I'm sure it means, in some ways more meant to mean cowardly demons or angels, but the implication, we're looking at a human being here.
Yeah.
Who died by suicide, not because of some mythical means, as has happened in other issues of this series, but out of depression and and other issues, personal, true issues. There's no clown laughing over her shoulder here. Oh, but at the end of the page, there's a 9-panel grid of her face as it's saying this, and then at the end, it says her eyes open, and she says Hellspawn. So
is she saying it?
Yes, I think that's the implication here, is that it's coming for Hellspawn.
Okay.
Because it says, it's a gateway and its name is Suicide, and then there's a beat, and then her eyes open and it says Hellspawn.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
And what happens here, spoiler alert, as we'll get into on immediately the next page, is this becomes a gateway for demons to come to Earth to possess people. And what they're all trying to do is, as predicted, come for Hellspawn's Gulliver, because he killed Malbolgia, therefore he's the heir to the throne, therefore whoever wants to credibly take that throne has to kill him. I've just been listening to a book called The Plantagenets about the Plantagenet dynasty of England and how they were established. There's a huge civil war at the start of that dynasty over two people with different claims to the throne. And that's kind of what the demons want to avoid here. They want to claim legitimacy by coming for Spawn.
Yeah, what's interesting is how Malbolgia's death has really thrown, and I can see why in the reading order all of Hellspawn is kind of shoved into this section of the story.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting to see the implications of the vacated throne,
And it
to
fits
see
with the
how,
kind of listless vibe of Spawn here.
yeah, exactly. Right, exactly. The main book doesn't quite have a really clear direction yet. And so to throw this in where, hey, we can do this kind of story that explains a little bit of the vibe. And I think kind of maybe helps age the book up a little bit
It's also
in terms
like,
of,
we don't have time to do a Cy-Gor story now. Let's do the Cy-Gor story. Spoiler alert, as we've been as has been teased by previous issues. It's a
Cy-Gor,
Cy-Gor.
an interesting character to have brought back for this arc.
I think he works great here, and we'll talk
I
about it.
think I think he does too.
Um,
But you were saying about this art because it's really fucking
oh
cool.
yes, this double page spread of Spawn looking out over the dismal, like almost rainy looking New York. First off, my favorite Ashley Wood Spawn looking out over the city yet.
Yeah.
A lot,
In his,
basically
like,
every one of
raven
these
form.
issues from Bendis through to Steve Niles now, the second and third pages have been a spread like this of Spawn spread out over both pages. This one I just love so much artistically. I love Spawn here where the ravens are perching on his shoulders and becoming those like pointed folds of his cape. That shit is so fucking cool to me. Raven Spawn as like the kind of alt Spawn of Hellspawn. Oh, I'm loving it.
A+ stuff. He's looking out there. Something has come, like an ache or an itch or a cancer crawling, eating away. It's seeking him out. And on the next page, we're going to see some of these folks who have been possessed that says, they're drawn to him. Something evil's crawled inside. And he's getting accosted essentially by a mob who are amongst the rooftops.
They're all just swarming into Rat City.
Right. And they're saying like, you think you're ready to finish what you started. And their lettering specifically is in black bubbles with kind of white outlines.
I get my impression is these are all people who've been possessed by demons who came through that gateway, as they called it.
Correct.
And
that's pretty clear to us soon after, I think, because like I think the narratives, this is what I meant about the narrative becoming a little bit more straightforward. Things get explained to us like fairly quickly. Like Niles is not interested in being super, super vague about things. Vibe has been established over the course of previous issues. So he's like, all right, let's get into gear.
He's explaining it in a vibesy way. He's not doing a full-on, like, kind of classic comic style, like they're all possessed by demons or something.
Yeah.
He's just letting you feel that out. And the art is taking on a more, interestingly through these issues in particular, the art is taking on a more traditional paneled structure. And I don't necessarily like it more or less than the amorphous style of Ashley Wood, but it's really cool to see him do this. And it actually, to me, makes this feel a little more iconically his own in some ways. There are less...
What's interesting about the next issue, though, is that it is a split with Ben Templesmith. So
right.
That I do think lends to it as well, where I think they're both kind of like engaging with each other's style, and so trying to
find that common ground to be like, okay, let's use a more traditional comic structure so that when we do this handover, it comes across as a little less jarring. And I think it works really well.
And similarly, I wonder if, because even though this one is all Ashley Wood, I wonder if he knows I might be leaving this book soon. Oh, this is who's taking over. He's already familiar
fairly purposeful. And Templesmith was like 19 when he took on this book. We discussed that earlier. It's bonkers. But yes, they're all coming to him. These people are all swarming to Spawn. And they're saying, we're coming after you to kick you right off that fucking throne. Your death imminent, liar, traitor, murderer. And Spawn just turns to this guy who's kind of taunting him and goes, shut up. And we see his like hook chain kind of whip out. And from there, Let's see here. They says, "Why'd you do that?" And he says, "You were talking like a fool." And you get the idea that Spawn conking the guy kind of knocked the demon out of his head for a minute.
Yeah, and we actually see that it kind of went for everyone in the area. They're all like, "What do we do? What are we doing here? Like, my head hurts." And
can't
it
tell if
even
it's maybe
says something
one presence spreading itself thin or a lot of weaker presences.
right, and it says something got inside them. Someone wanted a message delivered. Is it a warning, a threat, or a reminder to a Hellspawn that he will never escape his curse? Very cool. Is it like a return of Malbolgia? Is it some other demon
Right.
who wants the
Whatever it
throne? Very
is,
cool.
it's someone coming for the throne. We get this page of two guards kind of hanging out, talking about a guy who sued a waffle company. This is very clearly kind of based on the McDonald's coffee lady.
The McDonald's coffee cup
where this
thing,
guy bites a waffle that's full of like a microwave waffle that's full of jelly, and the jelly's red hot, burns his mouth. Thing about that was that company, that McDonald's, had been warned multiple times to stop serving their coffee so hot, and she had disfiguring burns. The McDonald's company just ran a whole slander campaign against her. Anyway, fucking McDonald's. Fuck them.
Will say that Niles isn't as great at this as like he doesn't have the same patter that Bendis
It seems
does
like
when
he's
he does
trying
something
to
like,
nail the Bendis vibe though of dialogue.
Yeah. I don't think it were either. I'm not sure if it's the art or just that he just doesn't. He's not as snappy. He lets them talk too much, right? But I don't know. It doesn't have that same Memeshian sort of back and forth.
These guys are FBI agents, and someone, Walter R. Wilson, as it turns out, a guy we've met, I believe, is leading Cy-Gor to kill these guys. We get this really cool, what is it, a 15 panel page, which doesn't always work, but here it looks awesome, of Cy-Gor just tearing these guys apart. It's almost like that first kill sequence in a horror movie of like a monster where you don't quite see the monster, you just see like gnashing teeth, rending claws. It works really effectively that way. And
it's pretty cool.
They're kind of measuring his progress, and this guy's doing great. And the reason he's attacking the feds is because he's kind of moved into Jason Wynn's former position, and Jason Wynn was being investigated by the FBI. That's moved on to him. So in order to get the heat off him, he's taking out the agents that are investigating him using Cy-Gor.
Well, wait. But Walter R. Wilson's not
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. Agent Damascus is controlling him to take out Walter R. Wilson because he is a loose end in the FBI investigation. Sorry.
He's basically
I
in like
explained
witness
that
protection.
slightly poorly, but yes, that's what's happening. He is a witness about the stuff that was happening that is now falling on Agent Damascus's back, and he is taking out Wilson here. And it goes about as you'd expect.
Yeah, a giant gorilla rips this man in half.
Yeah,
quite literally.
And it kind of rules. It almost looks like the fucking like mega splatter version of the what is it? The Memorex or whatever commercial where the guy like gets blown back by the speakers.
Yeah.
Not Memorex, but you know what I'm talking about.
Memorex?
No, it's not.
It's like
Magnavox.
No, it's
Magnavox, maybe.
I don't know. Some speaker company.
Some speaker company. But that's from literally 45 years ago.
And so we cut back to Agent Damascus and his sort of minion. He's like, and that's the end of that. The ape is responding perfectly to commands. He's heading back this way. So like they're just picking people off, and then the monkey stops, we're told, and it's that he's looking out at New York City. We've seen him do this before when he was headed to New York the first time. And they say that minds can be rewired, but memories always find a way to survive. And he's starting to say like something. He says, see, and then they blow his brains up a little bit with that trigger button that they have.
Yeah, but it doesn't work. He manages to get out. They say, hit that implant hard. Don't care if you blow his brain. We'll put in another one. Now hit him, make him burn. And it just Doesn't matter. He just smashes this truck in half. And
I think it does matter. Like, it is hurting him, but he is resisting. Like, it's
right.
not completely incapacitating him. And the technician even says, like, wait, I think he's coming back.
Yeah. I love the next page here of Spawn up on the rooftop with like Cy-Gor like roaring out, and you've got Eden, or the shell that was Eden, looking out over the city, combined with Hellspawn. These two panels of her face and Spawn's face, so fucking good. I just love those two renderings. Spawn's face and Eden's face there together look great.
Shout out to Gungora's lettering too, with this kind of like, it almost feels like this echoing like roar is happening through the page.
Yeah.
Like I can hear it with the way it's lettered.
It's really good. It's really nice.
It's really cool.
It's
really
interesting
cool. It's
to see the way those more traditional comic aspects are coming into this.
Mm-hmm.
Cy-Gor's running away, and Damascus is trying to pursue him. His minion is like, "Mr. Damascus, I'm hurt. Help me, it hurts." And he just turns and two taps him. Yep, finishes him off and says, "How's that feel?" Now, Cy-Gor is moving towards the city. Spawn, I love this panel of Spawn.
Yeah, it's really
almost
cool.
Merging with a gargoyle shape, with the ravens coming off his back and his spiky gauntlets. And on the other side of like this gulf of the city is Cy-Gor, and he's saying, "See Mo. Now, I'm gonna say it was took me an embarrassingly long time to realize what he was trying to say, because he starts saying Simon, and my 5th grade brain was like, Simon. One time, okay, a little 9th grade anecdote. When I was in health class in 9th grade, my health teacher was doing the like kind of birds and the bees class or whatever, the sex ed class. That's what normal people would call that. Doing sex ed class, and the poor jock health teacher, football coach, was trying to explain the process of like seminal fluid and like semen becoming sperm, or sperm becoming semen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It renders, and the milk turns to cum in the balls, cum turns to milk in the tits. It's pretty simple. It's about as biological as it gets. Anyway, he was explaining the whole process of like semen entering seminal fluid as naval troopers getting onto a boat. And someone said, "Why are they getting on a boat?" And I said, "Because they're seamen." And nobody laughed. That's not true. Everybody laughed except the coach. The coach was like, "No, that's not fucking funny."
Why is it always see men and never see women?
And you'd think it would be, because at least 50% of them are.
Yeah. Well,
see people.
Well, in 2025, it's see people. But
thank you.
Yeah. A phone rings at the bottom of this page, which is a little bit of a hilarious panel as a transition out of this like very
I know that sound.
Very cool.
And then ring, ring. That's like how a TV show would do it. The sound would overlap and you would transition in.
One of the weird things about comics is when it tries to do that and it doesn't quite work exactly the same way.
Yeah.
In this case, you just have this very oddly rendered phone. That's fine.
But we cut to Mike Moran in his office. Someone's calling in a tip about all the people flocking to Rat City. We're also calling it Rat City now, by the way. Steve Niles had called it the Alley before.
Just gotten the note.
I wonder if it's also that Spawn thinks of it as the Alley. Everyone else thinks of it as Rat City. Could be, part of it.
He never really calls it Rat City. He always calls it the Alley. So that could be the case.
Love this very, very almost Capullo-ish style layout of this page here of Mike Moran in his office with this
Yeah.
very lovely cartooning of this old guy smoking a cigar, this person with their earphones down drinking a drink, and he's leaning back in his chair and he's saying, I'll pay $50 for this guy's weirdness. And he says, something weird's going on down there. Bums wandering in the place like freaking zombies. And he just hangs up on the guy as he's asking about his money. So.
And then they check the scanner. The guy with the headphones is like on the police scanner.
He turns out they know about the Rat City stuff because it's on the scanner.
Yeah, and they know about the van blowing up in the hills, which is the van that was following Cy-Gor, that Damascus and the sort of minion were in, that they were using to control Cy-Gor. So that's why they don't have control of him right now.
And also they say
in a couple of calls about Escape Bear, which is just we know it's Cy-Gor, but it's funny that that if they think it's a bear.
Moran says, Escape Bear, screw that. Bums wandering aimlessly in hordes tell me there isn't a story there. And of course he runs right into none other than Cy-Gor, who smashes his car. Spawn, who is just like hurling flechettes and like chains with like kunai like darts.
Yeah.
Scorpion style like chain darts.
I like that he got new chains kind of every time we see him.
Love it. I mean, it's cool. If I was Spawn and I had a malleable costume, I'd be like trying a new goth thing every week, of course. And Spawn's like, turn around. And Mike Moran is like, oh my God, what was that? And Spawn, immediately recognizing Cy-Gor, of course, is like, long time, Kaninsky. How have you been? And here's where he goes, Mons. And my brain was like, Siemens. And that's not that funny. It's just my stupid idiot, like the way my shit works was like Beavis and Butthead level surface thought before I even got to the like, oh, it's Simmons. But I do love the ending splash.
That's why
page.
Everybody pays us the big bucks to cover these comics, okay?
This
for insights like that
looks like a magic card to me.
Yeah.
Like it could be a magic illustration of like Diabolical Ape or some shit.
I have some magic cards. This one of
they
Captain
look
America.
So different, and they're so weird.
This one of Wolverine.
I mean, that's cool, I guess.
This one of Sonic the Hedgehog.
What the fuck is happening? Magic is just Fortnite now, like legitimately.
It's getting there. This one of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Okay.
It is becoming that, but that's for a different podcast.
Sure is. That's for Magic Cardsography.
I'm not thrilled about it, but whatever.
Sometimes you just got to have fun.
Yep.
And the end of this issue was pretty fun with Spawn about to have his long-awaited rematch with Cy-Gor. It feels a little bit like we're getting the Cy-Gor story that we kind of always were waiting for. A little more.
I mean, Todd said months ago, years ago in comic book time, in real time, but
yeah.
Months ago in our coverage, like when people were like, "Where's Cy-Gor?" He's like, "I don't know. There was going to be a Cy-Gor mini, didn't happen because he was like, I want to find something to do with this guy." And I guess we're kind of seeing it. We're starting to see it.
I like it here.
What's interesting is. What's one thing that's interesting, not to get into back matter, but in the back matter they do show a cover for an issue that is not the cover of the next issue.
Interesting.
So anyway.
The cover of the next issue, by the way, is this very cool, like kind of more elder Hellspawn style, like those early issues kind of rendering of Spawn with his chains.
One big hand in the front, kind of.
Yeah.
And the hook.
Well, Pierce, hit me with those credits.
Hellspawn number 10, Todd McFarlane and Image Comics present Clash. Story by Steve Niles, art by Ashley Wood and Ben Templesmith, cover and frontispiece. There's an extra piece of art kind of on the credits page that is very cool.
Oh, okay, yeah. Frontispiece is usually like a little art thing that appears on like the title page.
It feels like it was like it feels like it was gonna be the cover, and then they were like, give me something else. And then they were like, well, we still paid for that. So
Yeah.
cover and frontispiece by Ben Templesmith and lettering by Comic Crafts, Oscar Ngora.
Oh, okay.
So
Hold on a
here's
second.
where...
Cover number 10 here is credited to Ashley Wood.
Oh, it is not by Ashley Wood. That's an error. That is by, unless this is an error, but that looks like Ben Templesmith. That looks like Ben Templesmith to me.
It does. As I look at it, I thought it was kind of more of a throwback to like Ashley Wood does all kinds of different little touches, but that does look very Ben Templesmith.
We're not going to be able to track exactly who does what. I do think that there are some pages where I have a good idea of who does what, but then also sometimes I just have no idea. So we're not going to try to play that game, I don't think.
No, but it is interesting how well they mesh, and you see why Templesmith was chosen as the next guy. We open on kind of that thing we used in the intro. It is 3 vertical panels of Mike Moran, I believe.
Yep.
No, that's Damascus.
I think it's Mike Moran. Damascus looks meaner.
Yeah, I think that's Mike Moran. Yeah. They're both kind of just guys with glasses that are sometimes whited out. But yes, that's Mike Moran, and then Spawn. Love that rendering of Spawn's face. And then Cy-Gor. This might be a Templesmith.
No idea. Could not tell you.
The Cy-Gor just looks a little different than than Ashley Wood. There's also the possibility that there's like some collaboration going on.
Yeah, it's unclear. The credits don't give us any indication. It's not like when you had Bill Sienkiewicz doing inks and they called that out. We get this really sick 2-page spread right after that.
Yes, our traditional double spread of Cy-Gor versus
looming
Spawn.
over Spawn.
Yes.
And the fuse is lit. Here we go. It's gonna fight.
It took me till getting to this page to realize he was saying Simmons.
Well, that's again why they pay you the big bucks to write about comic books.
They pay me the some bucks to write about comic books. And mostly movies at this point, to be honest. So there you go. That's how life goes.
That's the way
jobs evolve.
Listen, everybody's really excited for Age of Revelation, okay? I got your article sent to me by people being like, what the fuck?
I'm glad people were sending you my article. That's nice.
Yeah.
But no, it's a little what the fuck. Honestly, dude.
Somebody said, one of my friends said, it's almost like they're doing the thing that nobody wants. And I was like, yeah, nobody asked for Cloak or Dagger. It might work if they had spent a bit time working on it, building to it. But what it feels like right now is they are just relaunching again for the second time in a year. And it feels also like somebody asked ChatGPT, hey, if I had an X-Men event called Age of Revelation,
and how do you mix these up? Yeah, that's the problem with some of these. David Pepos, enemy of the pod, frenemy of the pod, my beloved, said something the other day that there's too many comics that are just about comics, that are just about like the exact same, like dredging up fucking plot points and stuff like that. And it's just something that, he, a talented writer, tries to avoid being the sole thing. And that's kind of similar to Superman. James Gunn said he didn't want it to just feel like a trailer for the next thing. So they had like all that stuff in the movie instead of like having Amanda Waller come out at the end like Nick Fury or something.
Yeah. Comics about comics, I totally understand that, especially because I think we live in a world of like every writer does their sort of meta deconstruction of the thing, because that's sometimes an interesting way to interrogate a property, a character, a franchise, whatever you want to call it, even a company, right? But the problem is that too often, and I think this is kind of what David means by that, is that like too often like that then just becomes so insular and almost just sort of like navel gazing to the point where it's not even comics for anybody. It's like comics for people who've like read 5 other specific comics.
It's comics for people who are just like ticking off boxes like factotums, trying to be like power levels and shit like that.
But But is that because we like allowed we've rewarded writers like that? Like, and I'd argue
I
that
think it's
once in a
50-50.
while, knowing continuity does actually create like a pretty
Well, I think there's a difference
a
between
fertile ground for like a new
I think there's a
story.
difference between mining continuity and relying on it. You know what I mean? If all you have to offer is like, oh wow, that's a thing that was referenced in 1972, and now we're gonna see what it is, which is like
Yeah.
there was a string of Marvel events like that. It's like it's not that interesting. Um, Continuity can be great. I think it's a mix of I don't know which parts to put it like the feet of writers who I know are often given editorial
Sometimes
benchmarks
given
and stuff.
guidelines. Yeah.
Exactly. House styles, that sort of thing. But some of I'll speak to the fan side of it, which is, did you ever like hang out in comic stores and stuff? Were you ever like that kind of person?
Yeah. Of course.
There is especially before the internet was hugely prevalent as like the place to talk about shit, and like doing it in person was more prevalent. There is almost a clout based economy of like comic book knowledge, of being able to be like, did you know that in issue 178 Superman actually does team up with fucking whatever? And like there's a kind of power and status that comes with that among your fellow nerds. Some of that I think is really fun. I think there's a
Hmm.
super healthy fun part of that that's like everybody finds their version of the character and their touchstones for it. We've had this conversation before where
Yeah.
everybody finds that piece of the character or their story that means something to them, and you kind of like you kind of work through that and figure out what it really means to you. But there's also like a level of, again, I'd like to call them like factotum fans that are just constantly trying to figure out like a character's power levels or like stuff like that. That's not really like kicking tires on the Batmobile. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Anyway, in the world of Hellspawn, Spawn is telling Cy-Gor, don't say I didn't give you a chance to walk away. He's telling Cy-Gor, who he's calling Koninsky, which is his real name. He's saying, I
Which I
didn't,
like.
yeah, he's saying,
Some
I didn't
humanity.
know. Yeah. He's saying, Win played us all for fools. I took care of Win, and I'll do the same to you if I have to. Which essentially, through Jason Wynn's machinations, Spawn had a part in the Koninsky becoming Cy-Gor.
Correct.
So, fucking Mike Moran is trying to take pictures, saying, "I don't believe it. Come on, you work, you little piece of crap camera, Kmart
Correct.
camera." And Spawn
Does it say
says,
camera in yours?
"No." He just says, "You little Kmart piece of crap," and it is a camera.
Oh, I thought it was a cell phone at first for some reason.
If you look closer, you can see the shape of it better,
Yeah,
but it
you're
does
right.
kind of have cell
I just read that.
phone-ishness.
I just read that weird because it's 2025, so I assumed it was a cell phone.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Spawn's like, "Stop, try to concentrate," and uh Mike Moran's like, that's it, look this way. And just as he thinks that, Spawn and Cy-Gor both take notice of him. Love this Spawn
cool
face
panel.
here. Love it.
Really cool
And
panel.
Spawn,
That you had mentioned that he looks kind of like Magneto. It is a very Magneto-ish
yes,
helmet
like
kind
a
of
Magneto
look.
skullish, kind of cool. And they look and they Spawn kind of psychically blows up Mike Moran's camera. Uh, and Spawn sees that no plead will stop the rage inside this monster. It was Simmons who delivered Koninsky to Win. It was Win who fused Koninsky with the beast. But none of it would have happened if Simmons hadn't been such a bootlicking sheep. Nothing will stop nothing will stop Cy-Gor until Simmons is pulp and shattered bone in his teeth. And this page of Cy-Gor pummeling Spawn, Cy-Gor looking super cool and cybernetic. Really,
Yeah.
really love this page.
I love like the exhaust pipes on like his shoulders or like the side of his head.
Yeah,
I don't know.
super cool.
There's something I hate like steampunk shit, but this reads as more.
It's more
But I like
cyberpunky.
Right. That's what I was just going to say is like, I like the tactile cyberpunkiness of this as opposed to the sort of smoothed over, more traditional comic book style that we get in the main Spawn title. Here, this looks a lot more horrific and sort of, I don't know. You feel for Cy-Gor here because he has been turned into this thing, you know.
So we cut to Damascus, who's up on the roof watching this unfold, and he says, "Get away from my monkey," and then he shoots Cy-Gor, and he keeps shooting Cy-Gor, trying to subdue him. And he sees Spawn, and he's like, "Okay, just fucking go down, you fucking ape, so I can kill this costume clown." I think is what he said, costume freak. And he shoots Spawn right in the mug, but we know that's not enough. At the same time,
poor Mike Moran's car gets thrown by Cy-Gor.
Gets hurled at Damascus, who's shooting at him. Damascus leaps down, and Cy-Gor is still looking for Simmons. He finds him, and he picks him up, and there's this... he holds him over his head. Love that panel of him holding him over his head.
Really cool.
And the sound effect there, where he's yelling, "Simmons!"
The Mike Mignola is really returning in this collaboration between Templesmith and Ashley Wood, where there's just a lot of that.
Seems like a common language for them in a lot of ways.
It feels like two guys who are fans of another guy who are like, we can kind of riff on this, which is pretty cool.
Now,
don't love this.
This next page, this is, I am almost certain, a Templesmith. Just if you look at the way it's rendered, I really think so.
We've seen this kind of shot before from Ashley Wood, and it looked pretty different. So I do.
It is the bloody bathtub that Eden was laying in. Her bloody footprints walking away from it back into the room. She is standing in the mirror nude. A little less sexualized. This looks a little more like naturalistic nudity.
Agreed.
Than like the very sexualized pose that was almost shocking that Ashley Wood did. I defended it in one issue, couldn't defend it in that one. It says, Hell's equivalent of a jackpot. She was growing a baby. We learned that she was pregnant. And with a single event, a backdoor slide, a lower demon has segued to a host. This guy she walks out of the apartment in her underwear, titties out, and this guy's hanging out there. He says, "Hey baby, looking good. I like your style," and starts hitting on her, and she just smashes his head to pulp in the wall. Yeah. Really love the rendering there. This also seems like a Templesmith page.
Yeah,
quite frankly. So. The shapes of the faces and stuff. She walks away smiling from his bloody stained face. I like that. The nudity here is a little more naturalistic. Again, it doesn't feel as sexualized.
It doesn't feel voyeuristic. It's just a fact of the page and not like...
It feels cold and distant.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we cut back to Mike Moran, who walks into Le Bar. And... he's a Mike Moran reporter out one slightly functional car, and the barkeep's like, "What can I get you?" And he says, "Whiskey, keep them coming until you're out or I fall over." And the bartender is wearing a shirt that says "porn star," which too many people had in the early 2000s. I got a shirt for my birthday when I was 18 from my friend, a girl who I had a huge crush on, who did not return that feeling to me, who is now like a huge corporate lawyer for like environmentally destructive companies, gave me a shirt that said "porn star in training" when I was 18, because there was a whole joke. It's so hard to explain, but the point of it is I wasn't obviously a porn star in training. It was just a dumbass.
Right, you were a professional already.
Correct. It was just a dumb, edgy 18-year-old joke.
Yeah.
Like,
right, trying to undercut your professionalism,
right, as a writer for the future. No, but my mom hated that shirt.
Did you wear it?
Oh yeah, I thought it was so funny. Like my mom hated it, but I thought it was funny. I've always been an iconoclast, my friend. Right now, I'm wearing a shirt with a revolver on it. That's I think I've worn this. I've said this in the pod. I've worn this before for an episode. It says guns don't kill people, cops kill people, which is,
It's true.
is what it is. So I've always been an iconoclast with my clothing, but
Something I've always said about you.
thank you. But yeah, my mom hated it, and I'm pretty sure that her doing my laundry is how it disappeared very quickly. I wore it to maybe a show for my band once. And like,
did anybody ever take it literally?
I don't think so.
And like ask you about it?
I don't think so, because you could get those shirts at like Hot Topic and Gadzooks all over the place.
Feels like a Spencer's Gifts.
Yeah, exactly. Like that era of like that shit. And it was just like a cool thing to wear. Like it was like a Fred Dursty kind of thing in a way.
Yeah.
Like,
well, this porn star behind the bar, he makes a joke about
he says, "You ain't
about
pregnant,
being
is you?"
pregnant. And like, okay, I guess that's a joke because of the previous page. Fine, that's fine. I love the next page because Warlock is in the background.
Yep, just straight up Warlock. And he's just going, bing, bing. The man wins a new washer and dryer and a new pair of balls.
Yeah. And
which seems like a very like drunk Warlock thing to say too.
Yeah. Which another influence getting brought in here, obviously Bill Sienkiewicz.
Yes, 100%.
These, again, Templesmith pages for sure. I said we weren't going to do this, but
sometimes it's popping out. We're not trying to. I think trying to catalog it, but just saying it's fine. It's all fine. I'm not thinking about it.
Moran does say something notable here. He says, "Rough day, try the weirdest day ever. I think I just figured out why nobody lives in Rat City anymore."
And then you get the close up on the fucking there. You get the close up of the Warlock face guy.
Yeah.
Super cool. Meanwhile, Spawn's back in the alley. He just got body slammed by Cy-Gor. They're fighting. The anatomy here says to me maybe these are Templesmith pages because it looks a little different from.
Yeah.
Love the next page where this is a very anime or manga looking kind of page because of the like sort of grayish tone and everything. But
while they're fighting, there's a big badoom.
Yes,
and
as
a hole gets blown through Spawn, as it was wont to do. Spawn always getting a hole blown through him.
It's a Spawn in a fight, so he's getting a hole blown through his chest. It's just the way it goes. And Damascus is like, "How's that for teamwork?" Very Trigun looking page here with like the cross.
Totally, on that's gun. Just what I was gonna say. But the cross on his gun is really notable because we're like, wait a second, what does that mean?
Yeah,
Damascus. Hold on a second.
And also maybe that's why it's doing some damage to Spawn here, because Spawn's kind of laying there steaming, and Cy-Gor just pounds him into the ground like Hulk pounding Loki into the floor at the end of Avengers. And then he picks him up, and as he yells again, "Siemens," he straight up fucking rips him in half. Rips basically his like head, neck, part of his chest, and one arm and shoulder off of the rest of his body.
Sick.
Super brutal.
Really cool page.
Really cool. And here's where Damascus realizes, oh, that's Simmons. It's Al Simmons. I heard about you. Jason Wynn told me about you. He sort of screamed anyway. I took the liberty of rescuing his personnel files after you put him away. Nice trick, by the way. Shame what happened to you. Shame how it's going to end. And he's just like shooting him over and over as he's saying this. Love the rendering of that. Spawn's desperate eyes. We haven't seen a version of that yet in Hellspawn. Spawn with those like sad eyes. And it's pretty cool. The gun runs out though. Or no, sorry. I thought it was empty, but he's basically cocking it next to his head. And then he just shoots him in the head. Damascus says, Wynn was like a father to me. Of course, my father beat me the second I slid out of my mom's ass. So what do I know? Disgusting. Great. I just can't wait to tell old Jason you're finally dead. The look on his face will be priceless. And the ape is just holding, Cy-Gor is just holding up the chunk of Simmons, sniffing him, and he drops him. And Damascus says, I won't be needing to use this anymore, will I? With the controller. And Cy-Gor just kind of follows him.
Yeah. His rage has kind of been sated, it seems, but he seems also now confused.
And a little sad, like his purpose is gone.
Right. But as they're sort of deciding to leave, Damascus calls for a transport, and Cy-Gor is still just like not really. He's kind of confused. He's lagging behind. He drops Simmons' body.
There's
And
like
Damascus turns
ooze
around
all
and
over the
says,
ground.
yeah. And Damascus turns around and says, "Sweet Jesus, I don't freaking believe it." And we get this really fun,
This
definitely
has to
Ashley
be
Wood page.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is like the little above his head.
Yep. And it's a skull, but with a sort of reforming body.
Yeah, you can see where
Spawn
it was ripped
here.
off. It's Spawn regenerating completely.
Yeah.
Super
and
sick.
He just says, "Believe it."
Love
to be
that.
concluded. Yeah.
Great ending
really fun
for
stuff.
that issue. Honestly, great issues. Okay, a little more conventional than the previous Hellspawn issues, but really enjoyed it. And we can talk a little bit more about that with final thoughts. But first off, do we have any back matter?
We do. So from issue 9, there's a letter that says, in the latest Hellspawn, which was great, by the way, it mentions something about Cy-Gor being manufactured by the Germans. But in Spawn 38, it tells a story about how Cy-Gor was created by Frederick Willem for the U.S. government. Is this just a mistake, or is there something I'm missing?
Project Paperclip.
From the Spawn.com message board, and it says, here's the explanation on the whole Cy-Gor Nazi connection. It is common knowledge that the Nazis committed unspeakable atrocities during their reign of terror. Among the brutalities they perpetrated were all manner of medical experiments using innocent human beings as guinea pigs. What was said in Hellspawn, and if it wasn't clear, it's my fault, is that Dr. Wilhelm studied data from these Nazi experiments and used them in the creation of the man-monster Cy-Gor for the U.S. government. Thanks for writing. Hope this clears up that issue.
Okay,
I think
whatever.
we kind of got that.
Yeah, it's fine.
So that was fine.
I just thought he was a former Nazi, which was also a thing that happened in the government.
There's
mostly with
also
rocketry, though. We discussed that.
Yeah. There's also the letter from Mike Moran that we covered previously, and it's an open letter to Mayor Sally Thornton Myers. So I'm not going to read it all here because we already did. But it's fun that they just kind of include it in the back matter here as like a real thing. Mike Moran for the New York Daily Times. In issue 10, we have some letters as well. In Hellspawn number 10, the letters column, it says, Steve, I heard some rumors there's a Hellspawn story that features the character of Miracle Man. I've also read that Mike Moran character that's been in Hellspawn for a few issues is Miracle Man's alter ego. I'm not familiar with this character and was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about him, such as what are his powers and weaknesses, if any. Also, does the story you're writing
level? Is there a lore reason?
Does the story you're writing assume or require any familiarity with the background story of Miracle Man? Appreciate your answer. Tom Clayput, Cleveland, Ohio. And he says, well, Tom, it's like this. Miracle Man is one of those characters double wrapped in mystery. There are several origins, and the mystery for readers in Miracle Man himself is figuring out which origin is the truth. The earliest origin says that Miracle Man received his superhuman powers from a wizard of sorts. But another origin tells us that this was all a lie. Miracle Man was the creation of a government scientist named Dr. Gargunza, who created the superhuman using the DNA of a downed UFO.
Dr. Gargunza.
Miracle Man himself lived many years thinking the wizard gave him his powers, only to discover that Gargunza fed him those and other lies to keep him asleep while they figured out what to do with a superhuman who had the power to destroy the Earth. Using the host body of Mike Moran, Miracle Man is trapped in infraspace, waiting for Moran to utter the secret word that will free him. Moran is Miracle Man's only weakness. Without his human guise, Miracle Man is possibly the most powerful hero ever. Hey, Steve, what kind of relationship does a writer have with an illustrator? Strictly platonic. For example, how specific are you about what you want on a page? It varies. The better you know the artist, the less you have to write. Sometimes it's a matter of wanting just the right details and balance to a page or panel. Sometimes I'll go into great detail about the character's emotional state to sort of cheerlead the artist to get the right expression or mood. Do you do any sketches to guide the artist, or do you review pages as the book is being drawn? I don't do sketches because I'm not an artist and I lack the skills to express visually what I can in words. Some writers do, however. It's a very potent tool. Sometimes if Brad isn't off drinking during the day, he'll send me pages as they come so I can see how the book is progressing. I've been very lucky and I never have complaints or changes with the artists I've worked with. Do you work differently depending on the artist? Yes. With Ashley Wood, I write the scripts with an Australian accent. Do you ever end up with pages that look totally different than what you picture when you wrote the story? Almost every time, and that's what's so great about this business. No matter what I picture in my head, 9 times out of 10, the artist comes up with something I never would have thought of. It's a collaboration, and the results are always a pleasant surprise. Sorry about all the questions. I've got a few good plots and don't know how much freedom to allow the artist that I want to draw my story. Thanks for the info. Hellspawn rules. Dan Slott, Orlando. No. Victor Catch, Orlando, Florida. Said, you're welcome. Good luck with your scripts and thanks for writing. And that's all we got. Just some kind of standard letters, kind of fun. I like that Steve Niles has kind of fun with people in the back matter, and it's interesting for him to explain Miracle Man. At this point, it would have been kind of hard still to get a hold of Miracle Man, right? So it makes sense that on the Spawn.com message boards and whatnot, people are like, oh, there's some mystery here. So that's really fun. I think we can get to final thoughts, though. What'd you think of Hellspawn 9 and 10, Chains, and Clash?
It was interesting to see Ashley Wood and Ben Templesmith coming together. It was also very interesting to see a more traditional style of story, like we were been talking about, where like even the panel layouts were more traditional panel layouts or page styles than a lot of what Ashley Wood has done, where it's a little more amorphous. Panels are more kind of free form. I wonder how that will continue as the story goes. Like, will it become more free form again with Ben Templesmith as the leading artist or the only artist? Will he maintain that sort of more structured style? I'm interested to see what happens. It's almost like, it's very like, Capullo taking over for McFarlane on the main title. Obviously a less, a much shorter length of time, but I think it's kind of a similar, like, okay, I'm going to try and take this to my level.
Yeah, there's definitely a yes-anding I felt in the collaboration on this issue. And I think we have one more issue of Ashley Wood before it's totally Templesmith, but let me just double check that. Oh no, this is it. This is it for Ashley Wood in terms of like interiors.
Well, there you go.
So,
I think he does a couple more covers.
He does a bunch of covers that are fucking sick. But even the Templesmith covers are really sick too. So regardless, this was it's funny. Our episodes are usually a little bit longer than this, but
it's very breezy, weirdly breezy.
I was going to say that we breezed through it, but we also kind of hit everything that's important in the book. We gave a pretty big trigger warning, I think, for the suicide stuff.
It's tough to dig into a lot of the implications of that kind of thing. Like the
I'm not trying to say that we should
stuff.
have, but the book kind of doesn't linger on it too much either. I do think that there's a pitch blackness about what Bendis wanted to do at the outset of this book, and then where Niles kind of like points that. Like,
he seems to be bringing it back towards aligning a little more with that idea of like, this is maybe the R-rated Spawn book, but it's still going to feel like a Spawn comic in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And I think we even said after the first maybe 2 or 3 issues that it did feel like the note from editorial, as much as there is some, was, hey, this is cool, but let's kind of make it seem a little bit more like a comic book.
Yeah.
And I know that Todd had even apologized about not championing the book right away. And I do think that maybe some of that was he was like, I kind of want to see how this will hit first.
Right.
And if people will be into it.
Yeah, he kind of was like, I wanted people to ease into the idea of there being a second title.
Yeah. So, I think I'm having a lot of fun covering this book. I think that the art is really interesting. I've not read a ton of Steve Niles' work, and I'm now more curious to go back. I have Mystery Society, and I like that book with Fiona Staples, and I've read 30 Days of Night, but I haven't gone back and read a ton. And now
the one I remember most weirdly is Simon Dark, and I had to look that back up to remember exactly what it was. That was a weird like pre-New 52 like Batman spin-off title about a ragdoll man. It was very weird. But
yeah, I'm curious to know where these last 6 issues are going to go, because also the Cy-Gor stuff does feel like it's
we just read to be concluded, so this arc is going to wrap up, and we're going to have another 5 issues of like whatever the next arc is.
I don't know that the book feels like it's spinning its wheels necessarily,
no.
But I do think that now that they're going to have to, we already know they're going to have to pivot out of the Miracle Man stuff like pretty soon, that I'm curious to know where this is going to land and how it's going to sort of land that plane.
Right.
We've already talked about how Mike Moran is sort of going to become the mother of, Gaia.
He's going to be folded into a different kind of plan.
Different sort of cosmology altogether than Miracle Man, but it's interesting how candid they are in the letters columns about it, even at this kind of late stage. So,
right.
I'm curious. This has been a fun little thing to dig into.
It has. It's been a little a cool sidetrack that has been really kind of rewarding to me on an artistic level to enjoy.
It is also getting me excited to get back to Spawn.
Yeah.
And I think that was, I don't know, we've covered a lot of Spawn so far, so it is kind of nice to like be like, oh man, I have like normal issues of Spawn waiting for me at the end of this, which is kind of fun. So
yeah, absolutely.
George, before we go, do you have any recommendations for our lovely listeners?
Well, aside from seeing Superman, which
hopefully you've done by now, because
honestly, by the time this comes out, we'll have seen Fantastic Four. That's going to be a whole thing. That's the other thing that my mental health is riding on. Superman was great. That's going to carry me through. I have a good feeling about Fantastic Four. I think it's going to take a strong approach.
But the bar is really high now.
It is. That's definitely. Besides that, okay, I'll plug the author I've been listening to a lot lately. I don't know anything about him as a dude. Please don't be bad. He's a historian or historical writer, anyway, of pop history. Dan Brown. Not the like fucking
Angels and Demons guy.
No, I don't think it's the same guy. I have to look that up right now. If it is, I'm going to be like, whoa. I think this is no, I'm sorry, not even Dan Brown. It's Dan Jones. Jones. Jeez Louise. The book I'm currently in is the Plantagenets. It has a companion piece called The Wars of the Roses, which he's a writer about histories of especially Western Europe monarchs, which as an anti-monarchist, you'd think would be something that I'm not that interested in. But there is a weird kind of like romance to the knights and castles and stuff.
Well, I thought it was interesting that they got Kurt Russell for Monarch, but I guess if you want to be against it, that's fine.
Okay, man. I don't know what the fuck you're even talking about, so that sounds sick.
You don't know about Monarch? The show that is showrun by Matt Fraction that is about the monsters.
I didn't watch it, but I heard it's good. Is it good?
I didn't watch it either.
Oh, wow. How about that? But it's got your favorite in it.
It feels like a thing that I should
Same. It feels like something I should watch. Yeah. Well, how about that?
How about that? Sorry to interrupt your
no, it's okay.
recommendation with a dumb joke. That book sounds interesting, and I hope that people check it out. My recommendation this week will be, what did I? Oh, I've just been watching a lot of movies lately, so I will recommend the movie that I mentioned earlier, Night of the Comet, if you're just in for some real silly 80s nonsense that is like really ambitious in what it does and is truly camp. Like when people say that things are camp, they don't really know what they're talking about. It's theatricality with a sort of knowing and understanding a lot about what you're doing. There's a lot of intentionality behind the theatricality.
Yes.
I think people just try to call things that they think are lame camp now.
Yeah, no, but it's not. Wrong. Campiness is a specific thing. And you know what? I'll add a secondary sub recommendation onto that, which is, as a companion piece to yours, Repo Man.
Hell yeah.
One of the best movies of all time.
I got the Criterion version
Oh,
of that.
homie,
It's
next
really
time we're
great.
hanging out, we're watching that.
Definitely. And then also for a little bit of a different flavor, I just rewatched Blood Simple, Coen Brothers debut.
Great.
And it's just, if you want to make a movie, watch a movie like that. And that'll just get your gears turning and really make you want to make movies or try to make art because, they did it with a pretty shoestring budget and they got Dan Hedaya and M.M. Walsh and Frances McDormand.
Great cast.
Yeah, it's a great movie. It's really simple, but Blood Simple, I guess. But it's a lot of fun in its way.
Yeah.
It's not like a Big Lebowski, but it is, a noir. And if you're into that kind of Dashiell Hammett type stuff,
Yeah.
You can have a good time.
Well, hell yeah.
Cool. Well, that's all for this one. We still have 3 more episodes in the Summer of Hellspawn.
Oh, yeah.
Great. Now I don't have to put that in. George, before we go, one last thing to say. For God so loved the world,
he gave his only begotten spawn.
See you later, Hellspawn.
Spawnography!
Spawnography is recorded in Athens, Georgia, and Queens, New York. It's produced by me, Pierce Lyden. Our theme music and logo were composed by George Marston. Episodes come out every Monday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. If you like the show, please rate, review, subscribe. You can find us on social media at Spawnography or at SpawnographyPod. If you'd like to reach out to us directly, you can do so at spawnographypod@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and until next time, see you later, Hellspawn.